In this book, we're going to learn all about the moon. The book is called What is the Moon? You're going to learn about why the moon looks different on different nights and how we explore the moon. What is the moon? When you look up in the sky at night, what do you see? What do you know about the things you see? People have always wondered about the moon. What are the dark spots on the moon? Why does it look like it changes shape? Ancient people created stories and myths to explain what they observed in the sky. Today, scientists create theories and hypotheses to explain their observations using the information available to them. Scientists tell us what they think about the moon based on what they've studied. What do the dark spots on the moon look like to you? Take a second and tell us, what do the dark spots on the moon look like to you? When ancient people looked at the moon, they noticed dark areas. People looking up at the moon from Earth in different places imagined these dark spots to be different things. In ancient Japan, people looked at the moon and saw the shape of a rabbit pounding rice in a big bowl. Do you see it? They told the story of a rabbit that lives on the moon making rice cakes. People in other parts of the world have looked at the same spots and seen something different, including a face that some people call the man in the moon. Do you see the face? Early scientists studying the moon had a hypothesis that these dark spots were large lakes filled with water. Once they got more information, however, they learned that their guess was wrong. Scientists have now learned that the dark spots on the moon are areas of hard, dark rock. This rock was created when hot lava bubbled up from deep inside the moon and then cooled and hardened. The dark spots on the moon are areas of hard, dark rock. Have you ever noticed that the moon seems to change shape on different days? The moon doesn't really change shape. We just see different amounts of the moon on different nights. The other parts are hidden in a shadow. Long ago, people didn't understand why the moon changed shape. They created stories to explain these changes. The ancient Mayans told a tale about a man in the sky with a big belly. As the man slowly turned toward the earth, people could see more and more of his full, round belly, the moon. Then they imagined that a jaguar jumped into the sky and took bites of the man's belly, bit by bit, and the moon got smaller. On the nights they couldn't see the moon at all, the Mayan story said the man was resting to regain his strength. Here's what really happens. As the moon moves around the earth, shadows and light make the moon appear to change shape. The part of the moon we can see is lit up by the sun, and the part we cannot see is covered by shadow. The moon's shape is always the same, a round sphere. Scientists call this pattern of changing shadows the phases of the moon. The new moon is when the moon is completely in shadow and we can't see it at all. The crescent moon is when only part of the moon is in shadow. The full moon is when the sun lights the whole side of the moon. One of the reasons we know more about the moon than ancient people did is because scientists have invented tools to see the moon better. 400 years ago, people engineered the first telescopes. Telescopes magnify faraway objects, making them appear closer and bigger. This allowed a new kind of scientific study to begin: astronomy, the study of objects in the sky. Can you remember any other ways people use telescopes? Scientists still use telescopes to look closely at the moon. Even more powerful telescopes allow us to see details in planets, moons, and stars that we can't see with our bare eyes. Seeing the moon more closely led to new questions. What is the moon made of? Is there an ecosystem on the moon? Could people live there? To help answer these questions, people engineered spacecraft to travel to the moon. The first astronauts landed on the moon's surface about 50 years ago. Scientists learned that the moon is made of rock. Astronauts brought samples home to Earth to study. You can see them in museums today. Scientists also learned it would be difficult for people to live on the moon. Some parts of the moon can reach 212 degrees. That's hot enough to boil water. Other parts of the moon can be as cold as 300 degrees below zero. That's colder than any area on Earth, even during the Ice Age. Another reason it would be difficult to live on the moon is because there is no oxygen on the moon. Humans need to breathe oxygen in order to survive, which is why astronauts wear spacesuits with tanks of air they've brought from Earth. Do you think anything can live on the moon? Why or why not? What about water on the moon? The moon is drier than any desert on Earth. Scientists discovered ice deep in the bottom of craters where the sun never reaches, but there are no lakes, oceans, or sources of water for people to drink. Scientists haven't found anything alive on the moon. No plants and no animals. Without air or drinkable water, living things cannot survive. There are no ecosystems on the moon because there are no living things on the moon. At least, not yet. What problems would scientists need to solve to make it possible for people to live on the moon? Here is a glossary of some of the vocabulary we learned about in the story today. Spacecraft. People use spacecraft to travel to the moon. Telescope. Scientists use telescopes to be able to see details in the planets, stars, and moon. Here is the moon. Can you see the dark spots? Here's a jaguar. Some cultures tell stories about why the moon looks different on different nights. Astronaut. Astronauts have traveled and walked on the moon to see what it's like. Lake. Scientists thought there might be lakes on the moon, making the dark spots, but then we learned there's no water on the moon. Full moon. This is when the sun hits the whole side of the moon, so it looks like a perfect circle. Crescent moon. This is when part of the moon is lit by the sun and the other part is in a shadow. New moon. This is when the whole moon is in the shadow. We can't see it. I hope you enjoyed learning more about the moon. What did you learn today?